Hey everybody, it's Jim, Midnight Road Garage. Today we're going to look at what to look for when buying a beater C4 Corvette. Now, just to be clear, we're talking about a beater Corvette, not something that you're going to restore. I mean, you could if you wanted to spend way too much money on a car that you'll never get that investment back on. But no, this is something you purchase in, I don't know, late winter, early spring, and then, you drive the wheels off it and all summer long, and then probably sell it in the fall. So I happen to have one of those right behind me. All right, so first thing you're going to do when looking for your beater Corvette is when you find a likely candidate, the first thing you're going to look at is you're going to go around the outside of the car and you're going to note that all of them were base coat, clear coat, and as you can see, the clear coat has peeled off in places, in a lot of places. That is to be expected and lets you know that this is the car you're looking for. A nice C4 is definitely going to still have its clear coat and have a nice shiny finish throughout and not this nice dull lack of clear coat. So while you're doing your outside inspection of the car, be sure to flip open this guy, take the gas cap off, and take a whiff. Woo! Yeah, that's some old gas. You can expect that in many cases. So you're also going to want to check out the tires. Now these appear to be fairly new, but don't be fooled. Even though these appear to be new and are actually fairly new, many Corvettes and cars like this have new tires that were never driven and are now 15 years old and dry rotted. These are not dry rotted. These are actually fairly new tires, are in good shape and usable. Now, you can, in some cases, get a good look at the brakes through here. You can kind of see the it's a little difficult to see, but if you know what you're looking at, you can generally see the calipers and see the brake pad and see how the brakes are. Also, one of the things to look for is the condition of the rotor, whether or not there is surface rust, a little bit of surface rust, or a lot of surface rust all over the rotor. That tells you whether or not the car's actually been driven in the last, 30 days, 30 years, whatever. So that's one thing to look for when you're doing your outside walk. Now, again, you don't care about the condition of the paint, fiberglass in this case, and you don't even care too much about things like this, these giant chips. Who cares? What you want to make sure with these cars is where they've hit curbs and things like that, there's no chunks of broken fiberglass just hanging off, and this car doesn't have any of that, so that's good news. So that's what you look for when you're walking around the outside. Now let's also look for broken glass. Make sure all of the glass is not broken. Anything like that can give you a ticket. You don't want, because when you're dealing with a beater C4 Corvette, the last thing you want to do is spend any money on it, and replacing the windshield would be an expenditure that you don't need. So make sure it's got good glass. And while you're looking at the glass, in some states, like Virginia, where this car is from and where I'm at, this should have an inspection sticker either here or over here, but it doesn't have one. So that is a clear indicator that the person that I bought this from, or the person that they bought it from, or someone removed the inspection sticker from this car. The only reason you remove the inspection sticker is because perhaps the car was last time on the road in, like, say, 1997, so it would have a 1997 inspection sticker, and they, of course, told me when I bought it, oh yeah, it was on the road like last year, which, you know, I knew that was a lie the moment they told me that, but that's okay. I expect that, and I only ask them things like that just to see how bold their lie is going to be. All right, so look at the interior. A couple things you want to look at. Look at the weather stripping. You can see the weather stripping on this one is shot. Because this is a beater, you don't really care about that weather stripping. You can see it's all cracked here. A lot of that's heat damage, just from sitting out in the sun, uncovered, not in a garage, you know, whatever, just sitting. These driver seats on a lot of these look like this. This is you know, people rub this bolster when they get in, when they slide into these things, and so a lot of these look like this. You can expect a beater Corvette to have seats that always look like that. They make really expensive seat covers you can put on them, or you can just say to hell with it and leave it that way. So this you want to make sure your dash here is working properly. That's kind of important, but I mean, kind of not really. You can just use your cell phone, and if you can't see the speedometer because the digital gauges don't work very well, what they do is they fade with time, and then it's expensive to get those rebuilt or replaced. But fortunately, thanks to your phone with a GPS on it, you can just use the speedometer on your GPS, and you don't even really need to worry about that. Other items of note, you want to check the glove compartment on these guys, or the console, and things you want to look for are like this. This takes the wheel cover off. You want to make sure that's there. This is not factory one, but this somebody replaced it at some point. I guess they lost the original, but this takes the bolts off for the top here. These are actually bolted down. This is what one of the bolts looks like. It's just big Torx. It's also take a look. Even came with the owner's manual, so that's a little nice bonus. Other things you want to think about on these guys is, you know, unlike your 05 Kia, where you expect the tire pressure monitoring system to work, on these older Corvettes, it's probably failed. Like, I mean, this bitch had 2 flat tires, and the tire pressure system thought everything was hunky-dory. So, you know, expect to actually have to use your tire gauge on these. So that's something to think about. Also, in the interior, you want to check and make sure that at least some of the switches are working. I mean, I don't know how important the seats are, really. I mean, if you can sit in it fine, then it probably doesn't matter if the electric seats don't work. But you do want to make sure the windows go up and down. I mean, it would not be any fun to be driving around in a Corvette with the windows up. You look pretty stupid in the middle of summer. A lot of the controls are in the normal place where you would expect them to be. But here's an interesting one. The wipers are on the driver's door. So, yeah. First time you drive this bad boy and it starts raining and you don't know where the wipers are, you're probably going to freak out. But there they are on the door. You want to check and make sure that things like the hood latch functions properly. Those have cables that stretch, so those can be a bitch to open if that cable stretches. Also, now this is not a convertible version, but the convertible version has a little lever like over here that you pull to work the top, and that thing stretches, and that's a real bitch to mess with. So keep that in mind if you're looking at a convertible C4, to check that top mechanism make sure it goes up and down properly. And if it doesn't, I mean, that's just a negotiating tactic. So there you have it. There's the interior. All right, here's what really matters with your beater Corvette purchase. That's the engine. Well, okay, you need to be able to stop too, but the engine is what really matters. So this one runs like shit, and it didn't surprise me at all that it was running bad when I looked at it and talked to the people that had it before me. They said that they had replaced the fuel pump because the fuel pump went out. I asked them about the fuel filter. They didn't replace that. Now, again, I already knew from the lack of inspection sticker that this car had sat for a while. Plus, the really interior tells me that there's a lot of heat damage from just sitting in the sun. So it told me this car sat for a while. So if it sat for a while, the fuel pump probably went bad because the fuel in it, it's in the tank, so probably shellacked up, and that's what destroyed the fuel pump, which means the fuel filter probably looks like that too, and they didn't replace that. So we definitely have a fuel filter that needs to be replaced. And then, things like this that are obvious to me and probably you, if you are into cars. I mean, you don't need to be a pro to know that if you have busted vacuum lines, you're gonna have issues. Another telltale sign that perhaps the people working on this really didn't know as much as they thought they did was this is a small block Chevy. Who doesn't know the firing order for a small block Chevy? It's been grease penned on the distributor. So, for future reference, it's 184365572, but I think you already know that. So you got to look out for things like that. You can take a look at things like on this guy. You can see this has got AC Delco spark plugs, and the plug itself is the threads are pretty rusty. So it's possible. It's possible that these are the original spark plugs. At the very least, they've been in there for a long time, so it's going to need some spark plugs. Let's see. One of the other things you want to look at when you're checking out a Corvette or really any used car, used beater project mobile, you want to take a look at the. I'll take a look in the radiator, and you can see that although there's plenty of rust in there, again, we know we already have determined this car sat for a while, so that's to be expected. But you can see that the antifreeze, there is actually antifreeze in there. It's kind of rusty with a green tinge, so flushing it'll probably be okay after a flush. Let's take a look. We can take a look at the oil cap here, and you can see it's not sludged up that bad. And then you can look down in the inside the valve cover. It's kind of hard to see, but it's not sludged up in there either. So this engine at one point, there was an owner who clearly had it for a while that took care of it. And we look at the oil. So someone's changed this oil recently. But I don't really like the viscosity of that. I mean, if you checked enough oil, this is really, really kind of runny. And the sniff test, smells a little bit like the gasoline. So we got maybe we got a cylinder not firing properly. One of the other things to look for when looking at project cars or beaters is pay close attention to clues like this. That is a mouse turd, rat turd, something, some sort of animal. And if you look here, you can see this insulation has been chewed on by something. Something was up on top of this engine, chewing on that. So you'll want to take a look around and look at all the wiring in the vicinity and make sure that it's not chewed up. And, you know, fortunately, none of this wiring appears to be damaged. And again, take a good look under here as well, under the TPI, and look for any busted vacuum lines. Always worth checking out. Yeah, it's not bad. So I took a gamble on this guy, the way it was running. Optimally, if you're looking for just a beater and you don't work on them a lot, you want one that runs really well. You just pick that up and don't care about how the car looks like. I mean, who cares? You're just out driving it and having fun, and, you know, parking it next to brand new Corvettes, you know, to bring down the property value on their Corvette by parking your C4 beater next to it. You know, that's always fun. Oh yeah, transmissions on these 700R4 transmissions. They're expensive to rebuild, so if you don't know how to rebuild one, you don't want to pick up one of these that has a bad transmission. So check the fluid, make sure the color's good, like this is. Again, sniff test, and this smells fantastic. It smells like transmission fluid. It does not smell like transmission fluid with burnt toast. So that's good. Let's see, anything else on this? Yeah, you know, serpentine belts. Yeah, serpentine belts are kind of expensive, so, you know, again, you want to keep costs down on this stuff. Make sure your serpentine belt's good. This one is. You can tell by these. You can look at these and see if those ribs are cracked, and they're not. Also, when you start these things up, pay attention for any squeals, because these belts don't squeal. What squeals is the bearings on things like the alternator, and you can tell. Sometimes you can tell when the alternator is going bad just because the lights kind of fluctuate a little bit. So anyway, you guys probably know that already. But so here it is. Here is the beater C4. I will be fixing a couple things on it, try and get it run better, and I will give you guys an update at a later date. Man, this owner's manual is just riveting reading. It's just a page turner. Let's see, what is this? Do not tow a trailer. This car is neither designed nor intended to be used to tow a trailer. Towing a trailer may affect handling, durability, and economy. That's just stupid. who would put a trailer hitch on a Corvette?